America, my name is Osei-Frimpong, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to say some things that you might not agree with and you might not like, but you need to hear. We do not have problems. Now, black people in specifically, but the left in general. We have problems that we cannot deal with on our own. We get screwed up by AIPAC. Look, black people, anytime we get a little bit feeling ourselves and get too close to the truth, you know, Israel will fly out all of your favorite HBCU leaders and all of the whole CBC. They'll fly them out and treat them like kings. And then when they come back, they are Zionists, right? We cannot control the black mind. Anytime the black mind gets a little bit too autonomous, it'll be bought out by other people and flown out by other people. And that's a problem. And we cannot fight that. We don't have the numbers. We don't have the money. Organizations take money, disposable cash, and we do not have disposable cash. We're too busy paying light bills and trying to buy instead of rent, right? So we do not have the money. We don't have the numbers. And that vulnerability gets used against us. And we need to admit that we don't have a solution when AIPAC screws up black politics. We don't have a solution. We don't have a solution. We don't have a solution. All right, we don't have a solution when misandry screws up labor politics. Now, misandry is just like a knee-jerk hatred of men and all the things men do. And you can say it's not that big of a problem. And it's not maybe nationwide, but in left and black spaces, it is. Like, this notion that black men ain't what they aren't, ain't stuff, is like, it works. It works. And we can't fight against it. We can't fight against it because, one, it's rude. It ignores the nationwide, arguably nationwide, bias against women. But in left spaces and in black spaces and in marginal spaces, that turns its head really quickly against in a bias against men, which means we can't make any moves within the Democratic Party, because if we do make moves within the Democratic Party, all they have to do is send a woman against us. And then that's it. That move is already done. So the inbuilt misandry actually gets used as a problem for black politics, right? And the misandry comes in the form of, we don't care about, it's not just that we don't care about men, black men, or, you know, poor white men. We don't care about anything they do. And you kind of saw a glimmer of this of Gamergate. See, I don't play video games. I'm too old. Like I said, I aged out of the Nintendo, the first Nintendo, up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. That was my controller. And I think by the time the controllers got more fancy, I was already playing soccer in junior high or whatever. So, in high school. So I never learned the new controller. So like, I didn't play video games, but you know, other people do and other guys do. And then they were getting punished for just like not being able to play video games the right way. And that's a problem. That's a problem. So like, everything that men do, the things that men do get stigmatized in a way that like really is kind of degrading and alienating, which, you know, even if I don't do it as a man, like I want other guys to do what they do. Like, you can play video games the way they want to play video games. But no, so misandry just kind of runs deep in this liberal and left spaces, but it gets occluded because it's not a global problem. But if you actually want to be a good guy, you got to deal with people who don't like guys. And that's a problem. So that pushes a lot of people to like just deal with bad guys, or it just pushes them out of politics. Although I did a video about this before. We're going to keep going. We don't have we don't have an answer to AIPAC. We don't have an answer to misandry in the liberal and on the left. And we don't have an answer to market liberals. Once again, if Mamdani, the DSA member who just won in New York, if he had run against a woman, if they knew that he would be so good on the debate stage, they wouldn't have run like a geriatric sex pest in Cuomo. They would have run a woman and then he would have gotten beaten. He didn't win necessarily because of inspiring vision. He ran because the Democrats didn't get their act together to get like a woman in his in that race. because then they just could have kicked up a misogyny angle and then he would have been toast. He wouldn't have won the first ballot, and then the simps and professional class women, the pantsuit crowd, they would have gone for the woman if she were marginally competent. And there are a lot of marginally competent market liberal women, and so we don't have a solution for this. And our vulnerabilities get used against us. So we need to bring in help. We need someone to deal with our APEC problem. We need someone to deal with our misandry problem. And we need someone to deal with our market liberal problem. Unfortunately, when you're in a position slightly prone, as the left has been, and we just need to be honest that we just keep losing and losing and losing and losing. And even when we win, it's not great, right? Like Chicago under Brandon Johnson. We need to broaden the entire conversation, and we need some heavy hitters from the other side. And when you're in a vulnerable position, you don't always get to pick your help, right? And so that's why I get to Nick Fuentes as a white Fred Hampton. Now, I have a lot of respect for Fred Hampton. I did shows on Fred Hampton before. I mean, I think he understood the education problem. He understood. I think he actually would understand Nick Fuentes' appeal, because Nick Fuentes is actually trying to grow, not just grow his audience in terms of a grifter and try to make money. He needs to raise their consciousness. And he's actually used those words in trying to raise their consciousness and not just make money off them like a lot of these other grifters are. And so yes, he uses the N word with a hard R, but you know what? This is America. A lot of people think it, right? So he just says it explicitly, and that's not necessarily any worse than it going unregulated in people's minds. So when Fuentes says stuff like this, and I'm going to play a clip, I say well, we might need to actually have to work with this guy, and that might not be the good thing, because the worst thing, because what we're doing right now is not working. We don't know what to do with our feminists. We don't know what to do with AIPAC, and we don't know what to do with the market liberals, who will, all of them will use the vulnerability of the left, either the ethical vulnerability as we want to be nice to women, or the material vulnerability about it's a lot of poor black people, so they can just pay a rich black person to say the opposite. But this guy, he may have the answer, right? So let's listen to his offer.
This is why I said the other night, why don't we have populist Republicans and populist Democrats that just solve problems? Just solve problems for Americans. And by the way, I am willing to compromise with the left, 100%. I'll work with anybody. I saw the track AIPAC people. It's some progressive woman and some progressive gay guy. I'd work with them on shutting down AIPAC in a second, in a heartbeat. Same goes for Anna Kaspari and Cenk Uygur. They were in favor of democratic populism. They want to deliver health care. They want to deliver education. I would work with them in a second. A Zohran Mamdani, all day. That's why I said we need to rethink and realign our politics based on what actually matters and what matters to us. We have to drop the wokeness, arguably on both sides. We have to drop the wokeness on the left, which is anti-white and obsessed with immigration, basically throwing the borders open. They have to get rid of the tone policing and language policing. And on the right, we can work together with the left. Maybe we have to let go of some of the cruelty and abuse directed at some of the marginalized communities on their side. It's true. There are marginal people. What else would you call a racial minority other than a marginal person? I'm okay with living in a society where we, as long as we close the borders, we can take care of everybody in the country. We can figure out how we can all get along together, as long as there is a consensus agreement that we can put America first. But what I see from the Trump administration and from the Democrats is neither of them are willing or able to actually do anything for people, for the actual people. And this is the evidence. Chuck Schumer opens the government with no Obamacare subsidies, after they funded the Trump government earlier in the year without a fight at all. But now he wants to put forward a bill on anti-Semitism. Really? So which constituents are you working for exactly? You can't.
So we can deal with this. Look, I don't get to pick the whites we deal with because we're in a vulnerable position. We need to just grow up and understand that this is what we deal with. It's kind of like Mamdani going to the White House. He didn't vote for Trump, but if he wants to do his job, if he wants to do his job, he knows that he needs, one, to keep ICE agents out of New York. Two, he needs subsidies at the national level to keep, the biggest city in the nation running. And if he wants to do his job, he needs to he should have the favor of the president. And you know what that visit did with Mamdani to the White House? That allowed 1,000 conservative New Yorkers room to do business with him. That one photo op and just being willing to go there, call the meeting, and have them say decent things about each other, and Trump say that this guy's okay, that allowed Mamdani room to work in New York. And that's a mature move. That's a mature move. We need to understand that we need help. We need to understand we can't do it alone. And if this guy can take out the Zionists, if this guy can deal with our misandry problem, if this guy can deal with the market liberals, hey, that's not the worst thing in the world. And then we just have to deal with them, right? And so when you want to say, well, what are his qualifications? What are his chops? All right, so Christian Zionism is a pretty big problem in the United States. It's not just the Jewish Zionists, it's the Christian Zionists also, who are paid by, a lot of them who are paid by the Jewish Zionists, directly and indirectly. So, or just dumb enough to just get spun by those junkets over to Israel and get moved by this. So we have a Christian Zionist problem. And one of the whole idea that Jewish Zionists pay Christian Zionists to be Christian Zionists, that is taken out pretty well by, I think, Nick Fuentes talking about Matt Walsh. Now, Matt Walsh is this huge racist on the right. He runs a show. He talks poorly about every racial group except white people and Jews. And this is what, and he won't talk about Israel, but he'll talk about everybody else. And this is what Fuentes had to say about Matt Walsh.
Get back to work, Matt Walsh. Get back to work. Do not criticize Israel. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Ben Shapiro. Get back to work, Matt Walsh. Get back to work. Do not criticize Israel. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Ben Shapiro. Get back to work, Matt Walsh. Get back to work. Do not criticize Israel. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Ben Shapiro. Get back to work, Matt Walsh. Get back to
You're such a good little Shabbos goy.
No, I'm a man. I have a beard and I wear a flannel shirt. I'm a man. But when the Jews crack the whip. Get back to work, Matt Walsh. Get back to work. Do not criticize Israel. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Ben Shapiro.
Literally, and Michael Knowles, little fairy. Oh, I'm such a cool little metrosexual. I'm Michael Knowles. I'm dancing on the table like a little fairy. And he bends the knee for Israel. Candace Owens, meanwhile, is a boss bitch. She don't take no shit from nobody. What you mean? What you mean I ain't on Daily Wire? What you mean I can't do my show, bitch? That's Candace Owens. That's my impression of Candace.
So we don't have that kind of energy on the left. We don't have that kind of energy in black spaces. There is no dirtbag left. There is no dirtbag left who's going to do that. We don't have the money because the dirtbag left needs to be independently funded. We don't have the numbers to get the money. And we might not even have the talent yet, or all that talent gets kind of constrained. We do have the talent, actually. Black people are the funniest people in the United States. I'll die on that hill. I don't learn, and you don't really learn that until you go to jail. But black people are the funniest people in the United States. Anybody who's been in any prison can tell you. So someone says, we could if we wanted to. Destiny's pretty damn good. No, Destiny's a clown. Like, I can't listen. I can't, like, that's not a problem. Like, Destiny is not, and people talk about, well, Hassan Piker can do it. No, I can't listen to those guys. They're not smart enough. They haven't read enough books. They're illiterate. Well, Destiny might not be illiterate, but he's just not deep enough. He hasn't read good books. He's read a lot of like shallow ones. Like, so we need help. Yeah, I'm looking at the comments. Someone did actually promote Destiny as the left fighter. No. We need help, right? So let's game this out into 4 blocks, right? You have conservative, conservative Republicans. You have market liberal Democrats. You have the Groypers, the Nick Fuentes folks, and you have the left. The left is the pinky. Who can we take out? Sometimes it's possible for us to take out the conservative Republicans. Sometimes. I'll give you that. That's a reliable, fair fight. But we don't have, that's it. Like, that's the only person we can take out. Every time we try to take out the market liberal and Democrats, like, all Obama has to do is pick up a phone and they'll all, like, someone will give a wolf whistle or whatever, and they'll all come take out your favorite left candidate, right? The only reason it didn't happen in New York was because they didn't realize too late that Mandami was actually had the chops to do it. A year ago, the guy was a joke. It took the debate for, it took the debate for Mamdani to have a chance, and the other electoral spaces aren't structured for that kind of debate, other than New York. So, someone in the chat said Blackout 300, who is wrong, but like, I'll try. Says Hassan and Destiny are the 2 biggest platform, meaning influence. They might have influence and not smart enough. Like, people will go in trying to be leftists, listen to those 3 on a panel, and come out Groypers. Like, we need someone deeper. We need someone deeper. I'd rather send Yvette Carnell up against Nick Fuentes, but I don't think you guys will like the solution. But I'd send Yvette up against Nick Fuentes rather than any of the other people. So we need to be honest about the fact that we don't have a solution to AIPAC. AIPAC will buy all of your favorite HBCU stars. They'll just buy them. Just buy them and fly them out. And since we don't have money, they'll fly them out, flatter them. They'll come back like with a little yarmulke and the whole thing. So we do not have the money. We don't have the numbers. Sometimes you don't need money if you have like electoral numbers. We don't have those. Either black people or the left. We don't have the number. This is a center-right nation who thinks like Nick Fuentes. And then it's possible we don't have the talent. We don't have the talent. So we lack money, numbers, and talent. We have the truth, but that's not enough. That's not enough. And so we need to hire fighters. The first, is it the first or the second book? It's the second book of Plato's Republic. It talks about like being a small unified state. And if you're a small unified state, you need to play other states against each other in order to sustain what you are. We need to play the Groypers against the market liberals. We need, like Ben Shapiro said, if you can't afford to move in your town, to live in your town, you need to go and buy a bus ticket and go someplace else. We can use that. That market liberalism is not going to fly with the poor whites. They don't like it. And Fuentes went off on Ben Shapiro when Shapiro said that. Like, Shapiro says, if you can't afford to live in the place where you grew up, then that's a you problem. And Fuentes took him out because of that. And you know what? Fuentes was right. You do have a soft right to be able to, raise your children in the place you grew up. And the nation has to mean something and respect you and respect your way of life so much that if it can't give you a soft guarantee that's going to try to keep you in the place that you grew up, then it's not much of a nation. And we need a nation. We need borders. So if we have to get strong on borders, get strong on borders. Look, I was born in Los Angeles. The name kind of fools people, but my first name, Irami, that comes from Miriam. It just scrambled up. And then they didn't like Iron Man, so they just lopped off an M. This is a very black thing to do. And because my mom's from South Carolina, right? So We need to be honest about like we need borders, and if that's what the Groyper right wants as like their chit to get us like healthcare and jobs, then we'll give them borders in order for us to sustain healthcare and jobs, right? So at this point, so yeah, like, share the video, do all that. By the way, nobody else is going to tell you that. Nobody else is going to even put Nick Fuentes and Fred Hampton in the same sentence. But here I am. We tried the Rainbow Coalition from the left. Now we have to suck up we may have to suck up the Rainbow Coalition from the right. And that's because we don't have an answer. We don't want to have an answer. Black people, 2053, you're supposed to be worth $0. You are going to be pawns to the liberal feminists even more than you are now. Like, you don't have the money to sustain yourself. We're not on a trajectory. The trajectory is not looking good. And nobody, nobody's gonna save us. We'll just be more and more destitute. So what I'm saying is we partner with the Groypers to take out the market liberals in our own party, make the misandrists like sit down for a little bit, and then I think the Groypers are taking over the conservative party, the conservative Republicans too, and then it's just us against the Groypers, and that is actually a fair fight. If it's just us against the Groypers, and we don't have to listen to the feminists, and we don't have to listen to the market liberals or the conservatives, and it's just us against Groypers, I think that's a fair fight. All right. So super chat, I'll read it because one, I like the comment, but also I'll read super chats now because we need money. Why the left don't see the contradiction that open borders benefit the rich? Yeah, open borders just turn the U.S. into an empire, and this becomes the center of the empire. We're Rome. That is what open borders do. What we want is strong states. We want everyone to have their state, and then we can deal with them as state, as a state. Now, Fuentes wants something a little bit different. He wants a different kind of empire. He wants us to run them, as opposed to Israel running us, which it does. There's nothing we can say no to. There's nothing we can say no to that Israel asks. There's nothing. And you could say, that's just Trump. We get a Democrat. No, can you imagine Kamala Harris saying no to Netanyahu about anything? No, it's impossible. It defies possibility. Right? So we need, unfortunately, this kind of Groyper Rainbow Coalition coming from the right in order to take out the market liberals and also the conservative business GOP. Because, he made his bones kicking right. He made his bones taking on the Charlie Kirks. He made his bones punching right. I mean, he's a huge racist. And, even his racism, there are varieties of racism, people. His racism isn't the hard, emotional racism. He actually thinks that's kind of the least interesting racism. He just thinks black people are incompetent, right? So he's like, well, you give them everything, they'll still end up at the bottom because they're stupid. That's most of America. That's what most of America thinks. We just need to accept that that's where we are as a nation in terms of the national psychology. But that's not the red hot, I hate him, I want to go out and do that. He wants to do that to, he wants to do that to the Jews. I don't, but he wants to, or at least the Zionists. He thinks it's actually organized Jewry, not necessarily Zionism. Slightly different in my mind, but not so different in his mind. And he's worried about them in a way that he's just not worried about black people, because for the most part, he thinks we're incompetent. We just got to suck that up because our problems are bigger. We got to get rid of AIPAC. We got to get rid of market liberalism. Okay? And And honestly, the biggest people who should be worried about this is if my strategy is right, the people he's going to go after next, after the Zionists, he might go after the Asians. And I'm giving you a little bit of a window into the future, because unlike the blacks, he actually, like, the Asians are winning in a lot of ways, and the whites aren't going to like that. And if he wants his white country with white people on top, he's gonna have to do something about that. So like that's something you have to work out. So if I were Asian, or like that's where my mind is. But they've been on the sidelines for too long. So they're gonna have to take their lumps too. Casually voting Democrat and then keeping their mouth shut and making money. But they're beating white people at everything, like all the test scores, like everything. So, if I'd be more worried about a partnership with the Groypers if I were Asian and into like Asian American politics than I would be if I were black in black politics. But the problem is, if I'm in Asian American politics, I know my first problem is politicizing Asians. They just think they can come here and make money without like having a strong political voice and like actually like fighting for things. So, that's on them. That's on them. So you sat out long enough, and when the Groypers come for you, I'm kind of a fan of Asians. So like I will fight up for you, but like you need to start fighting for yourselves at that level. And someone says Nick's not racist. Yeah, he is. He just isn't the worst kind of racist. He is. I mean, he'll admit himself. He just thinks that like there are important intellectual differences that can be marked down to race, and one of the reasons why he's not intimidated by helping out black people is that he thinks ultimately the whites will win a fair fight 10 times out of 10. Right? So nobody, nowhere, Army. That is a lie. Get the quote or you're lying. Actually, like, I'm not going to, it was a show like 3 days ago. He's the cold racist. He was making fun of the hot racist, the passionate racist, and like who like really like, he's like, that's, I think, low IQ racism. Like he's the soft racism. Anyway. All right. So the problem is you're going to have to, I'm looking at the comments now. You're going to have to deal with a lot of nobody nowhere 21s in this coalition, but just be big and let it go. So what I'm saying is we should think seriously about partnering with the Groypers and understanding that a bigger Nick Fuentes might be better for America. Because as it stands, the trajectory is not good for us. We need to try something different. It's not the best. It's not the best trajectory, but it is one that's better than the trajectory that's right now, which is benign neglect. Black people, we're in palliative care. We're in palliative care, and people are keeping us comfortable as we're dying. And I don't want to die. I want to live. But that means we might need borders, and we definitely need healthcare, and we need good jobs, and we need someone who's going to actually talk about what it means to get secure Americans like these, these goods, these rights, right? So, this is where we are. And if you appreciate me talking like this, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com and kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month. Because I was bullish on Fuentes a few years ago because I noticed that he was different. I think he's the only relevant right-wing person you need to listen to. And like the rest are, if they haven't already, they're just going to end up following him because he's ahead of where they are. He's the only one. The rest are irrelevant. I couldn't stomach listening to anyone. And, I don't even think you should listen to that many people on the left. Like, I can't stomach listening to Destiny. So I think he's just where it's going. And also you need to listen to him because eventually we're going to have to take him out. Not with violence. We're going to have to take out the arguments. I did a video long time ago about how he's a right Hegelian. Fuentes is a right Hegelian, and it's only going to get beaten by left Hegelianism. It's not going to get beaten by anything like less deep than that. So eventually, you got to follow him to follow the arguments, because that's the arguments you're going to have to deal with later when we take over from the Goipers. But you have to admit that we need him as an ally. Look in the mirror, people. We don't have a solution to AIPAC. We don't have a solution to Misandry. We don't have a solution to market liberals within our own party. Mondami got in because they didn't figure out till too late that he was a threat, so they ran a 60-year geriatric sex pest against him. Had they run like a nice, like basic woman, they would have just tarred Mamdani as some sort. They would have made up something, tarred him as some sort of like misogynist, right? Big woman is a problem. We don't have a solution to big woman. Forget big pharma and big tech. Big woman is the biggest problem. It's not the biggest problem, but it's a huge problem in liberal and left spaces. Not a problem globally, nationwide, but a problem in liberal and left spaces. We don't have an answer to big woman. We don't have an answer to AIPAC. We need help taking them out, right? And this is sometimes what help looks like. Not what I would ideally. I thought like, well, we could deal with Bernie and then bring him over on reparations, but like, he wasn't strong enough. We needed a stronger fighter, right? We could have had it with the Rainbow Coalition, but the FBI took it out, right? We could have had it with the real Fred Hampton, and then we could have had it in 2016, but that's it, right? So I do not think that Nick Fuentes is going to be in elected office. I do not think that. I don't think it matters. I don't think Nick Fuentes is going to be president. I think he's going to give everyone the ideas. I think he is going to be the most, this is like listening to Rush Limbaugh in 1987. Right? He didn't, it's got the same demographic. These young guys, and he's like, he might be bigger than Rush Limbaugh at the end. I don't think he's going to run elected office. I don't think he's going to need elected office. I don't think he's going to have to leave his apartment with the internet and the way things are going. The only thing that was keeping him out before was like mass censorship. And that was never a real strategy. We will make sure we'll keep him quiet by like remaining wrong and hoping that all the platforms will continue to deplatform him. That was the only thing keeping him down. Right? All right. So thank you, Bells the Beats. I appreciate all the super chats. That goes to sustaining my way of life, because talking like this doesn't exactly make you popular in any circles, because I'm ahead. I'm ahead. So this is where we are. All right, so I'm going to look at the chat a little bit. See if there's anything good here. It's us versus the liberal Democrats. That's true. It's us. It's the left versus the liberal Democrats, and we can't beat them. We do not win. This is like Maria Sharapova versus Serena Williams. They made it a duel, but like Serena Williams is just kicking her butt all the time. That's us against the liberal Democrats. We do not win. Or a thing Mo against, what is it, Hodgkinson in the 800? They tried to make it a big thing, but a thing Mo just keeps was winning until she kind of got distracted and then stopped racing her. But like, it's not a real fight between us and the market liberals. The market liberals will always win. The market liberals will always win. And we just need to figure out how that's not the case, because our trajectory is not good. And I care about black people, right? And look, it's easier to get Nick Fuentes and their group because there's an entire, like, not only the Groypers, the young people, but there's an entire, like, kind of sensibility he's around. It's actually easier to get them to talk about reparations than it is to get a market liberal to talk about reparations. They're more likely to say, well, get a bus ticket, move out to someplace cheaper. Can't afford a house? Well, rent subsidy. Well, I don't even want a rent subsidy. I want black people to own. Yeah. Or Sidney McLaughlin and Femke Bowl. They called it a rivalry. No, that Sidney McLaughlin's better at the thing, right? So that's the left against market liberals. So we need Fuentes to win. We need Fuentes to win, and then we need to take out Fuentes. And when I say take him out, I mean ideologically. I mean because we have the truth on our side, we have history on our side, we have deeper arguments on our side. But we need Fuentes to do the work against the market liberals, against the Zionists, and against big woman that we can't do. We can't do. We're just too polite. So the Democratic playbook right now is to either find a simp, a guy who's scared of women, that's, simp, or just a woman to take out the left. And it works. It works. It works. Someone says, that's a really good point. Without October 7th, I don't think Fuentes would be as big now. Yeah, that's true, but he was always right? So you want to be on the right side of the argument before people need your argument. He was always right about AIPAC. It just wasn't relevant until we just started, until it was just obvious we'd give them anything. So you had Biden pledging Netanyahu a Jewish state. He was always right about AIPAC. I saw an interview with him years ago, and that's when I realized, this kid's different. I don't, the rest of them are irrelevant. This is the guy who's going to make it. And he was always right. And, remember, I was the one who, wasn't pro Kanye, but go look back, and I wasn't, Kanye had his life destroyed, and it might have been an organized hit. So I don't know what to tell you, man. Nick Fuentes might be the guy. We might have to ally with his people. And look, his people are going to end up doing all the dirty work. His people might end up doing all the dirty work because we really don't have anything. We really don't have the numbers to take on AIPAC, and we don't have the money to take on Big Woman, because Big Woman will just pay some black woman to come take out the left. We don't have the money to take on Big Woman, and we don't have the numbers to take on AIPAC or the Christian Zionists. So so someone says, Fuentes, this is interesting. Someone says, Fuentes is kind of like Lyndon LaRouche in the 80s. Okay? Okay, that's possible. But how do you get a Marie Le Pen? Right? So maybe LaRouche prepared the way for Le Pen. Right? So what I think, I consider Fuentes to be more like Donald Trump, but for real. Donald Trump talked one way, he said in jest what Fuentes means in earnest. And I think that's why he's so comfortable punching right. Fuentes can punch right, he can punch at Trump, and because he's just saying in earnest what Fuentes said, what Trump said in jest. The frame of what I said actually goes back to, I want to say Thomas Paine, but it was a different founder about, America will be in magnitude what Greece was in miniature. Or what Greece was in miniature, America will be in magnitude. Something like that. What Donald Trump was in jest, Fuentes will be in earnest. And that's where we are. Does anybody in chat know where that quote came from, the miniature and magnitude? Was it Thomas Paine? It was one of them. I don't think it was Jefferson. Anyway, what Athens was in miniature, America will be in magnitude. Should I look that up? Be a responsible scholar? A responsible scholar would actually go through my library. What Athens was in miniature, the U.S. will, America will be in magnitude. 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 If you know, you know. Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine. Good for me. Hey. Thomas Paine. Yeah, good. By the way, Thomas Paine, people know about common sense. Go back and look at agrarian virtue. Oh, no. Agrarian. It might not be agrarian virtue. Agrarian. Thomas Paine, agrarian Agrarian Justice, right? So in Agrarian Justice, it's a little pamphlet. He argues against philanthropy. He argues for like real property and functionally a federal job guarantee, except it's a pre-industrial society. So he just argues for the conditions of independence in a way that's actually nice, because without like actual like owning stuff and owning property, you are just a tool of your employer, which is true. And we need to actually talk about it that way. You need to actually talk about it that way. All right, so or Fuentes is more like Ross Perot in 1920. No, he's way more charismatic than Ross Perot. Hey, here's the deal. I've listened to the guy give interviews, and he's well read. Like, I don't know if he's like me style well read, but he might be more, right? So I don't know. From what the arguments that I hear him give, I've only seen in primary texts. I've only seen in primary texts. He didn't finish college, but like I've seen in some secondary texts, but like they're not superficial arguments. They're not superficial arguments. So either someone is masticating the arguments for him and he's delivering them in a real way, or he actually studies, right? So he can study. He's young. He's not going to get honey trapped. This is how they got Nader. So if Nick Fuentes isn't white Fred Hampton, he might be Ralph Nader. Now, we only know Ralph Nader as the guy, the presidential candidate in the 90s and 2000 and later. But Ralph Nader in the 60s, Ralph Nader in the 70s, he like was a mover and a shaker. He got these seat belts. He like, and not just clean air, clean water. Like he did the work with his mouth and like just with lawsuits. And so he might be Ralph Nader, except not with the lawsuits and with the public citizen, but with the internet and his show. And he's the only one young people have. There is nobody like him. There is nobody like them, in the same way that the boomers kind of ate all of Gen X. All the people my age are now too old, or so leadership skipped a generation. There's nobody like him. And people say, well, he's too young. He's 27. I suspect Thomas Jefferson was younger when he wrote the Declaration of Independence. I suspect so. And they tried to get Ralph Nader by sending the babes after him. They tried to honey trap him. GM sent some hookers after him to kind of get him, but Nader saw it and was a little bit suspicious that these very attractive women were were hitting on him at the grocery store, and yeah. So if you don't like me comparing Nick Fuentes to Fred Hampton, then maybe you can compare him to Ralph Nader. I think it's closer to Fred Hampton because he's going for that multiracial coalition, or the multiracial working class coalition, except it's coming from the right. And when it comes from the right, it's going to be tinged with things we don't like, in the same way that when it's coming from the left, it's going to be tinged with people from the right that they don't like. Now, Fuentes people will say that, like, well, we'll go in a coalition from them and then we'll rule them. And that's what they say, but I think we have a better chance with a fair fight against the Groypers than we do with the market liberals in the Democrats. Like, we're just not going to beat the market liberals in the Democrats. I want the fair fight on the other side. At least if they stay Republicans, we have a political distinction. Like, yeah. Right now, the business Democrats fight the business Republicans. I want at least the working class Democrats to fight the working class Republicans and have that be the fight that dictates American politics. Right? So, does Chad have anything interesting to say? I'm saying not really. Yeah. So, Nick Fuentes, he's inoculated against the babes because I think he's pretty much asexual. I saw an interview said he's married to the game. I don't think he's asexual. I just think that like he understands responsibility and he's kind of ways. People say he's gay. I don't know. I don't know about that. What he's not insecure about, he's just not I think he just likes the game more than he likes women. Let's be honest. So a lot of what promoted my sexual anxiety when I was young was anxiety about like whether I could get laid. So if I suspect I would have been less, horny if I was as sure as someone like Fuentes is that he could like find a good wife and whatever. Okay. It was anxiety mixed with all these other things that kind of made me like, yeah, 20 young man. So yeah, I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to do it. I don't think he's going to get succumbed by a chick. I don't think he's going to get ensorcelled and then have to like give excuses about how he has to feed his family now and now he's going to have to sell out. I don't think that's his guy. Someone says, just stop. This kid has not done the actual work of feeding people. All right, so his people don't need food. Black people, the Panthers needed to give them everything because they needed everything. The Groypers don't need everything. The Groypers don't need food. They need a different kind of sustenance. They need like a different kind of sense of belonging. So someone says, Fuentes thinks women are annoying and a waste of time. Look, in the Democratic space, women are a problem because nobody can tell them to shut up. You can tell guys to shut up. People think like, you're just being mean because she's a woman. No, I'm treating her like a guy, and you just don't know how guys treat other guys. Once again, this is what I want to do. This is Nick Fuentes talking to other Republicans.
Matt Walsh, you're such a good little Shabbos goy. No, I'm a man. I have a beard and I wear a flannel shirt. I'm a man. But when the Jews crack the whip, whoosh, whoosh. Get back to work, Matt Walsh. Get back to work. Do not criticize Israel. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Ben Shapiro. Literally, and Michael Knowles, little fairy. Oh, I'm such a cool little metrosexual. I'm Michael Knowles. I'm dancing on the table like a little fairy. And he bends the knee for Israel. Candace Owens, meanwhile, is a boss.
That's him talking to other Republicans. We need that energy taking out some of our more obnoxious Democrats. We don't have that right now. So we need to, borrow him. Right? So, yeah, that's the idea. If there aren't any good chats, I don't see any super chats worth talking about, I'm going to cut off. So Nick Fuentes, he's our he's the white Fred Hampton. It's what we got. Or maybe the white Ralph Nader. I actually he's the guy. He is the guy. He will change. And it's not just that he's catering to his base. He is creating a base. That's the difference between like an organizer and an activist. An organizer teaches people how to govern both themselves and with other people, and are preferably fun to do it with. I don't have all of the gifts, right? So if you're with me now, it's because you actually want to learn things. But if you've been with me for a while, you've learned things. I have taught you how to govern both yourself and with your family and, other things in life. So he's not just feeding people what they want to hear. He's growing his people. He's deepening his people. He's raising consciousness, and he does that intentionally. And that's one thing, once again, I've heard him say intentionally, I'm trying to raise consciousness. And the question is, do you think he's a flash in the pan? So I didn't really worry about Andrew Tate or any of those guys, the Red Pill, the Manosphere, because those guys were just trying to get people laid, and it was all very superficial. It was all very superficial. But then I saw Fuentes and I was like, this guy's different. He's not superficial. This guy's actually trying to fix people's politics. And he's done deeper reading. It's not just, well, you just got to be a man and get testosterone and work out and get more money and to buy a nice car and then you can find a woman. No, that's how you get a mercenary. That's how you get a mercenary. That's not deep. Fuentes was like, as opposed to Fuentes, who was like, all right, so why are these foreign people loyal to a foreign nation so influential in American politics? And what does that say about our sovereignty? That is a question. That is a real question, right? So Fuentes is deeper. He reads books and he can deliver a punchline, right? So I always said, man, you know what? The next video I'll do and I'll tend to right now is how Fuentes is like Yvette Carnell. If Yvette Carnell got interviewed in Tucker, if anybody let Yvette in, she would be the biggest thing in the nation. That's why they have to keep her out. If Yvette got on Joe Rogan, if Yvette got on Tucker, if Yvette got on even MSNBC for any extended point of time, it would be the biggest thing in the nation. That's why they have to keep her out. And that's why, 10 years ago, I bet on Yvette. I saw her and I said, she's different. She is different. And I stand by that bet. I think Yvette she is the talent. She's way more talented than I am. Like, Yvette Carnell is the talent. The only way to keep her down is to keep her out, which is why you can't get her on any main, I've tried to get her on Breaking Points. I've tried to get her on Bad Faith. I don't think anybody wants to touch her because they're scared that she's going to win. She is going to win in a way that might destabilize their power, right? So I would like to see Nick Fuentes and Yvette talk. I don't know, that would talk. But that's what I'm talking about. One, the power of the internet. Two, the only thing keeping Fuentes back was access before, and then he got the access, and now he's big. He didn't need October 7th. He needed Tucker. And now you're not going to put that genie back in the bottle. It's not going to be a flash in the pan. You're not going to put the genie in the bottle. He will have all the young dudes. All the young dudes carry the news. Boogaloo dudes. What song? Yeah, he's going to have all the young dudes. Mop the Puppet? Is that the chat? Do you know the song I'm talking about? All the young dudes? Anyway, he's going to have all of the young dudes. He's out. He's unleashed. And unfortunately, he's right about enough of the things. And we just need to figure out how to use it. And, almost hasten it. Because not to hasten the contradictions, but to hasten the victory. We need him taking over the GOP. And then we need him scaring the heck out of our market liberals and beating a few of them too. And then we can take them out. Oliver Apex. You should just go down to funkyacademic.com and kick in for my vocal stylings. And for thinking about bringing it back to Mop the Puppet. Who wrote that song? All the Young Dude. I want to say it wasn't David Bowie, but I think he did All the Young Dudes. All the Young Dudes. Carry the news. Oh, it was written by David Bowie, but okay, I guess it was written by David Bowie. Mott the Hopple. Mott the Hopple is what I was thinking, but it was written by David Bowie. Okay, so Oliver Apex, he understands. See, he understands me. So the Recycle guy says, the first influencer to slap up Fuentes or challenge him in front of the young dudes will destabilize the gropers. It won't happen. You assume that he's wrong or bad. I haven't seen anyone who can take him. I haven't seen an assemblage who could take him, because that assemblage would have to be right and funny. The funny people aren't right and deep enough. The right people aren't funny. Yeah, someone says Sagar. Sagar would be intimidated by Yvette Carnell. Yeah, it's yeah, soccer could barely stand me when I was on. So like, I tried to get a vet Cornell on. Nobody like, and it's because they're scared. It's scared. But once you break through, that would be fine, right? So people think, can Mondami take Fuentes? Yeah, but to what end? Well, I don't know. Like I said, Yvette could take Fuentes, but I don't think you're gonna like the end of the debate, because she'll have to agree with him about the things he's right about, and the things he's right about, borders, you're not gonna like, right? So, and you know, Yvette could talk Fuentes into giving reparations, because like I said, reparations. He's one of these conservatives, kind of like Ann Coulter, where he thinks you got to give him reparations. Go ahead, give him reparations, whatever. Like, it's not going to work because they're too dumb. So you can get conservatives like you can get conservatives like Ann Coulter and Fuentes to go for reparations, right? So someone says Kai Cenat versus 20. Kai Cenat. Like, that guy's an idiot, right? Right? So it's not just that Fuentes has been punching against jabronis his whole career. It's that he's a heavyweight punching against jabronis, but he's still a heavyweight. He's like kind of like George W. Bush, where he was an out-of-shape heavyweight, not a lightweight, in 2000. Yeah, like, so yeah, Fuentes has been debating fools, but there are a lot of fools, and he's been killing them. And even if he debates a non-fool, you put Fuentes against Chomsky. You know, I don't know what the end of that is. Chomsky's too old. So he is still alive, right? He's off in Arizona, some right there. Noam Chomsky. Please be still alive. Good. Yes, he is still alive. Good. Good for me. Yes. Yeah, but I mean, there is nobody. You put Fuentes against Hassan Piker, Fuentes against Cenk Uygur. Those guys are idiots. They don't read. They're not idiots. They're illiterate. They're illiterate. And Fuentes isn't illiterate in that way. He just has deeper arguments. He would need to be against a thinker who could deliver a line. He would need to be against Tommy Curry. He would need to be, and Tommy Curry might be a little bit too generous, but he could deliver an argument, and he's a thinker. He would need to have to be, I want the Yvette Fuentes debate. But once again, that debate's not going to end in a place where you like it, because it's going to end in a coalition, right? Because the idea that you can just call him a racist and be done. Fuentes versus Ta-Nehisi Coates. Maybe. That would be something I would like to see. I would like to see. Okay. Fuentes versus Ta-Nehisi Coates. Good person. That would be a debate I want to see. I still might put my money on Fuentes because Ta-Nehisi Coates might pull punches. And once again, Coates is a good writer. I guess he's good in writing ways that in ways that makes people dramatize the problem and haunt. I don't know if he's a deep enough thinker. Like Coates isn't a philosopher. I would have to prep Coates. I'd only bet on Coates once I prepped him with the arguments, because he's a good writer, but I don't know if he's a deep enough thinker, because once again, Fuentes either has a good researcher and who can synthesize arguments for him, or he's just read the books. He's read the books. Like I said, when I listen to Fuentes talk, I hear arguments that I've heard only from the original texts. Someone says, Fuentes graduated from where? I think he's a college dropout. Doesn't matter. I've been to the fancy schools. And academics are, kind of cowardly market liberals. They'd get tossed. They're scared of women. Like all your favorite liberal academics are scared of women. And since women are the problem right now, not, American womanhood is the problem, not necessarily anything biological. I don't think they're biologically a problem, but they are, as a culture in America, the problem for the liberal and the left. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really, we don't have a fighter. We don't have a fighter. So we need Fuentes to do some of our fighting for us. Well, it'd be de jure, right? So Fuentes is a fan of segregation, but once again, Fuentes, I'm reading Stanley Rogowski's comment right now. Fuentes is a fan of segregation, but once again, he just thinks that black people are incompetent. So he thinks that the segregation will happen without the law, just because black people won't be able to penetrate non-black spaces. Right. So Fuentes and Norman Finkelstein will be wild. Finkelstein's of a different era. They're both anti-Zionists. That would be wild because, Fuentes would ask the right questions and Finkelstein would give the right answers. I think that might create more anti-Semites if Fuentes and Norman Finkelstein talk, because Finkelstein's he doesn't like lying. He'll tell you where he is. And Fuentes might get Finkelstein to admit that not just Zionists, but Jews are as organized and clannish as Fuentes thinks. So that might be a problem. That might be interesting. That might be an interesting thing to see. But the only thing, once again, the only thing keeping Fuentes down was being canceled. And as soon as that door opens up, his ceiling is he'll get all the young dudes. And I still say to this day, the only thing keeping Yvette down is being canceled. No Democrat, nobody on the left will ever have her on. No Democrat, nobody on the left will ever have her on. If she ever were on, her ceiling would be astronomical. Her ceiling would be as high. If she were with the equivalent of Tucker, except for the Democrat, if she ever on, if she ever had a real segment on democracy in America, or I don't know what's the equivalent, whatever the equivalent of Tucker Carlson is for the left. If she ever had a real segment, if she even had a real segment on breaking points, I don't have any juice with them. But if she had a real segment on breaking points, that would be over. Maybe I might be able to get. I'd like to get Ryan Grimm to get her on because Grimm's actually a pretty decent dude. It would be over, but nobody's going to touch her because she's that good. Nobody's going to touch her because she's that good. She's that good. All right, so thank you for your time. If you appreciate what I'm doing, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com. Kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. And I hope you've learned something in this. I hope you've learned that we have three problems: AIPAC, big woman, and big Israel, big woman, and market liberalism. And we don't have any solution to them, but Fuentes does. So we need Fuentes to take out AIPAC. We need Fuentes to take out big woman, and we need Fuentes to take out market liberalism. And then we could deal with his xenophobia. We could deal with the white supremacy of the Groypers, because we got truth on our side and America. All right. Thank you for your time. What's Yvette's name? Yvette Carnell. Yvette Carnell. Breaking Brown is her show. Like I said, she is as good as Nick Fuentes. Someone says savvy? No. It's not right. I wouldn't mind Mark Lamont Hill and Fuentes. That would be interesting. That would be something I'd like to see. Mark Lamont Hill and Fuentes. I don't agree on Mark Lamont Hill on everything, but I would like to see Mark Lamont Hill and Fuentes. That would be That would be interesting. Someone says Mark Lamont Hill can only preach to a crowd. I don't know. I think he's got bigger chops than that. The thing is, you're going to see Fuentes on like Flagrant. It's only a matter of time before he's on like a Joe Rogan or something like that. And like I said, it's only getting bigger. He's only going to get bigger. So you got to deal with him and decide if we're going to like spend all of our ammo fighting him, which I don't think that's a good place to put ammo, or can we deal with him now that he's reached out to us? And I think we can deal with him. And have him fight some of the people that we don't like, who keep whipping our butt. Market liberals whip our butt. AIPAC whips our butt. They'll just come out and flatter our people. And the middle, big woman, we don't have a solution to big woman on the left. Right? So if you appreciate what I'm saying, go to www.funkyacademic.com, and I will talk to you at another time. Peace. He's got all the young dudes.